Welcome to the Trailer Island Podcast. It's episode 2.
We made it.
We made it.
2.
Yay. I am
Survived.
your host, Alex. I'm joined by...
Steve and Matthew.
Oh, your voices are so lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought I sounded nasally after the first episode. I'm feeling better now.
You've cleared out your sinuses, have you?
No, I'm just comfortable with it.
Okay.
I think I sound a bit smoother this time round. A little deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had some interesting mic things going on.
We did, and we apologise to our listeners for those technical difficulties, but we're back now in what you could call full HD if you like, and we're here to stay.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. Well, last week we talked about 1917, the film, but this week we're actually talking about a TV show. Steve, would you like to do the introduction?
We are going to listen to the trailer to The Mandalorian.
Is the world more peaceful since the revolution? It is a shame that your people suffered. But bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
He's got a great voice for
Yeah.
that character.
Werner Herzog.
Werner Herzog, the famous documentarian who's acting it up in this.
I was really excited when he was in this. I was like, that's brilliant. That's he comes across as such an intense person, doesn't he? And then to be in something as like Star Wars, which is sort of, I think it's fair to say is, an adventure kind of thing. I thought it was an interest. It set the tone for me immediately that he was in it. I was like, this is going to be great.
He's an interesting character, but of course he's not the main character.
No.
The main character in this is the Mandalorian, who, like in many westerns, I suppose, remains unnamed.
Yeah.
Yes, though on IMDb they do have a name for the character, but I don't know if in the credits for the Mandalorian, if he's, I think he's just listed as, isn't he listed as like the lone something? I think.
Okay.
I'm not. Well, they say his name in the last episode.
They do.
Moff Gideon says it.
Maybe we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
This is a streaming show on Disney Plus. It was its premiere.
Yeah, it's like its flagship.
Flagship program that it had. There are a few trailers for it. The first trailer didn't really have much in the way of any dialogue in it. What we heard there was from the second trailer, which had a lot more of the... It doesn't tell a lot of the story. And we see a lot of action, very Star Wars-y action.
Yeah.
Not so much... It doesn't give a... Last week we spoke about 1917, and the trailer really told us what to expect. In this, it was a little bit more ambiguous about, okay, what are we going to expect? This is got a really big weight on its shoulders that you are a Star Wars franchise.
Oh, and I think like 1917 was about that story and about how it's going to be about this race against time. Whereas this trailer, a lot of the trailers for this were more about tone, because we'd just come out of Solo was the last film that Disney had done, which was obviously a light-hearted adventure. And I think they really wanted to get the point across that this is a sort of gritty Western. Like we've gone back to that kind of theme that you can arguably say A New Hope is as a Western, and it's going to be a little bit violent. It's going to have that kind of thing going for it. It's going to have some intense characters, some moody, broody kind of stuff.
I mean, the first shot of both trailers is like yellowed stormtrooper helmets being almost trampled on.
Aren't they? Yeah.
It's definitely aiming for that dark and gritty tone.
It does set, I think, when it's set quite well. Though it is interesting, in that trailer we heard, the second trailer, there are lots of shots. Well, there are a few shots from the flashbacks, which were to the Clone Wars. Yeah. And there's some super battle droids and stuff like that, which is quite interesting for them to put that in the trailer. And that might be, again, them trying to align themselves. Obviously, it's Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau who are involved in this with the Clone Wars, very popular show as well.
Yeah.
Maybe
we
that
both worked on that show as well.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe there was some kind of through line with that, putting that in the trailer. It definitely got me excited to see some Clone Wars stuff. I thought, okay, we're going to be jumping across a few eras here. That was exciting to see that.
Well, we haven't seen live action Clone Wars stuff since, last decade.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith.
I thought that both trailers sort of followed the Star Wars trailer model that's sort of occurred over the last 5 years pretty well. So I thought the trailer for Mandalorian actually followed the sort of pattern that Star Wars trailers have sort of formed over the last 5 years. Force Awakens started off with this very vague, sort of trying to set the tone sort of trailer. And then the second one sort of started to give you glimpses of what the story might actually be about, who the characters are, who the main characters will be.
Just on that sort of like those first trailers being really vague, strangely, none of those have ever worked for me, especially Force Awakens. That didn't win me over. It wasn't,
wow.
It wasn't until we saw the proper teaser trailer I went, oh, cool, this actually looks quite good. And it was the same with this. I think the only shot that excited me in the first trailer they released was the shot of the Stormtrooper helmets. I thought, that's awesome. That sort of sets so many possibilities for what this world could be. But then the rest of it from memory is just lots of, beautiful landscape shots, but that's about it. And it wasn't until that second trailer came out, I was like, okay, we're getting to some actual meat here. This is what it could be about. And that's when I got excited.
It does take a while to sort of give you what to expect. So we're certainly given, in the title of what it is in The Mandalorian, okay, it's about a Mandalorian. We know of one before this, or two. We're introduced that, okay, yes, there's a Mandalorian. It's about what he's doing, where it's pretty clear that it's post-episode 6.
Yeah, I think it's 5 years officially after
5 years after episode 6 with the downfall of the Empire. And it seems like it's a real wild, wild west. That's probably the best thing that I could compare it to was it's a Western.
Yeah,
it's a Western in
absolutely.
space, which I guess, Star Wars has been that, from the beginning.
To certain degrees, on and off. Yeah.
And this is sort of delves into that singular character and really following them and doing what they're doing. Now, there's a line in the trailer where Werner Herzog, who's more, he's the client. He
doesn't have an official name.
It's not an official name. It's the client.
Yeah.
And he says, bounty hunting is a complicated profession. I don't know if I've done that very well.
The South African, but it was a great South African.
Oh, was it? Okay. Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Having seen the show, I know what that's relating to, but having not. We all know that Baby Yoda's in the show, so we will
talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that that's what that line's about. But when you see it in the trailer, it could mean literally anything.
Well, it's a teaser trailer. It's supposed to tease it, and it does tease it really, really well.
I should just say, I think they did there were no leaks about Baby Yoda at
No.
all.
Yeah.
They kept that under wraps so incredibly well. I was very impressed when that reveal came. I was like, wow, I'm surprised I hadn't heard something about this at some point.
When do we find out about Baby Yoda? Episode 1?
At the very end of episode 1, yeah.
At this point, I don't think you could consider Baby Yoda a spoiler with how viral it was, despite it being probably the biggest surprise of the series.
Biggest meme in the last 6 months, easily.
Yeah.
And it's a welcome meme.
It is. Yes.
They do Baby Yoda so well, but we're diverging a bit here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, of course, Baby Yoda wasn't in the trailer. It's one of the biggest things that we find out about in the series. I don't know that much of that gets resolved either, really, throughout the series.
Well, that's talking of the story on this, and I think going back to the trailer, as vague as it was, to me, it's really ignited my imagination. Going, oh, great, we've got more Star Wars coming, fantastic, and it's going to be this new gritty world. Anything could happen. It's fantastic. And then going through the series, from the first 3 episodes, I was going, this is great, this is building, this is excellent. It was about episode 4, I realized there wasn't really a story to this TV show. They're very isolated episodes. And unfortunately, the middle episodes suffer from this quite a bit, where the episode will start, and then by the end of it, he's in exactly the same position he was in when it started, and not much has changed. And as a result, you can skip episodes, and it doesn't matter. The worst one for this is unfortunately The Prisoner, which had a really cool premise.
This is about
Prison Breakout.
This is episode 6
Yeah.
of 8 episodes.
Of 8 episodes, and by this point you would think it would be warming up to something, but that episode is completely self-contained. And I was bored by it because nothing happened. There were no stakes for me in terms of our main character and I didn't know what his goal was.
I think this speaks to maybe a generational gap, because I think for the last maybe 15 to 20 years, TV has been super serialized. It's been one episode leads into another. It's had that flowing narrative for so long now. But if you go back 30, 40 years, TV used to be episodic.
I think it's because somehow I'd had this expectation placed upon me either by the trailer or the fact I knew it was only, I think at the time I thought it was 10, but it's 8 episodes. I thought there's clearly going to be an arc here. And to a degree there is, but when the Baby Yoda reveal came along, I thought that's going to be the story. Again, to certain degrees it is. He's trying to make sure he's looking after him, but he gets distracted all the time by stuff that then doesn't really come back.
Well, Baby Yoda is, I guess, the arc It's
Yeah.
from start to finish, Baby Yoda is sort of the arc and gives him reason to make the decisions that he makes throughout the season. And we do get those episodes that are the backstory, I guess trying to provide a backstory to his character.
Which were good.
Which were good, and for essentially a faceless character that you can't read facial cues from, giving him a sort of emotional background when we understand where he's come from, why he is, who he is. By the end of episode 1, you sort of realise, okay, this story's about a dad keeping his child alive.
Yeah. I feel like they could have done. I don't want to like just go on about it, but I feel like they could have done more with that premise, and I was a bit let down once I got to episodes 4, 5, and 6 that they weren't doing more with that dynamic. But then obviously by the end of it, it picks up again, and that becomes the core thing by the end.
Episode 8 is definitely my favourite episode.
Yeah.
They've got a classic assassin droid that we meet in episode 1, IG-11. It's
Yes,
IG-11?
IG-11, I think. Yeah.
Based off IG-88 from the classic books. Oh,
He's in the film.
He's in the film, yeah.
He's
I was getting to that.
Empire Strikes Back.
The scene
yeah.
of no
But-
disintegrations.
Seeing IG-11 in the trailer, that was sort of a tipping point for me. I was like, all right, yeah, I'm here. I'm on board. Absolutely.
Would you call that fan service? Bringing in the same model droid from the films?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's good fan service because they do something new with it, with the voicing, with
Yeah.
I can never say his name properly.
Taika
Waititi.
Waititi.
I can't.
Hang on, I want to hear Matthew say
I
it.
apologise, but I don't want to be offensive to anyone. I struggle with it. Is it Taika Waititi?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
is that right?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's fine.
hooray!
Yeah.
Just looking at the stress on your face is worth that alone.
I was freaking out a bit there. His characterization in his performance is fantastic. And I think he elevates it above normal fan service. What to me was pointless fan service was going to Tatooine. I was like, why are we here? Because the beginning planet, which isn't Tatooine, looks so similar anyway. Maybe give us a different planet, something that we haven't seen yet. Let's do something new. But that was a gripe I had with that episode.
I thought that episode, though yes, Tatooine's a bit of a fan service sort of planet, I thought the story on that planet, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought that story went a long way to sort of making the Mandalorian question a lot about himself.
Yeah, no, that's when I think he really definitely is on the side of looking after Baby Yoda. He makes some pretty definite choices there at the end of that.
Did you feel concerned for the child?
Oh yeah,
for Baby Yoda.
It's well out there as a meme in one of the last episodes when that scout trooper punches it. I was warm with fury. So angry.
And that Taika Waititi directed that episode, the last episode, in which he plays IG-11 as well. And there are some, without giving too much away, there's a beautiful scene at the start that is just a conversation between two ex-stormtroopers. Are they
I guess they're mercenaries now.
Well, they're mercenaries now, which was pure Taika Waititi style.
Yeah.
Which is really worth waiting for, if you can get through it. Because like you said, Matt, probably that episode, is it The Prisoner, where they're stuck in that
spaceship
ship
prison thing, yeah.
I think I really struggled with that episode as well. That was probably my least favourite episode, but I've, talking to some people on the island, they say that they really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to...
But having said that, what I should say, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier when I sort of went on a bit of a run, is that this series does do a really good job of actually giving you many different things. You've got like the siege episode with the prison break episode, and you got some other things. You got some chases here. You got more of a war episode at one point with some ATSTs. So it does do a good job of actually providing. Everyone loves Star Wars. There are so many Star Wars fans. It's hard to please everyone. I feel like this show did a pretty good job of actually, without overdoing it, sort of giving everyone something they'd like.
Well, I'm incredibly pleased with the series.
Yeah.
I think the episodic format of the actual show is fantastic, and like you said, they're actually able to play along with a couple of genres in each episode. So you do have a prison break episode, you do have a homage to the samurai movie by Kurosawa, which is the Village episode. I like the fact that these episodes are isolated. Yeah, there's some like flowing on story elements, but I really like that it's 40 minutes of a simple story being told, and I can't wait for that to continue next season.
Oh, I'm definitely excited for the next season. Yeah. It was funny, especially when I was getting later on, and I was getting into the groove of it. The quote from Werner Herzog, I think it's in the second episode, which is, "I would like to see the baby." That was just going around my head. It's like, just bring Baby Yoda onto the screen. I'm ready for that. That's all. That's not the only reason I'm here, but it's a large part of why I'm here now. The puppeteering for that is insane.
If we were to talk about the tech of the show, that the tech is amazing. Having looked at the behind-the-scenes stuff for
the screen,
the LED screen that they used it was a gaming engine that they were able to project a 3D background. Well, when I say 3D, it's on a two-dimensional space, but a 3D background on an LED screen that was synced with a camera so that you could create these digital backgrounds that appeared so the characters could sort of interact and understand where they were, as opposed to being on a green screen or a blue screen. And if you can imagine trying to do the VFX on reflections on the Mandalorian suit, that would be an absolute nightmare. Imagine trying to key out green on that. So
I'm surprised they had C-3PO all those years. I don't know how they did it.
Well, yes, you can understand episodes 1, 2, and 3 why that might have been a problem. 4, 5, 6, beautiful.
Now, was Baby Yoda controlled by two people? Was it two people puppeteering that?
I just heard it was a number. I believe a number of people.
I think there was two people, one controlling the facial expression, and then the other person sort of just doing.
Which is a bit similar to what Frank Oz did, I believe, in Empire.
Well, I think that's why they did it. If you're an actor, you can be holding this thing that's physically and emotionally reacting to things that you're doing, and so you can sort of feel for it.
Every time that the Mandalorian, especially in the cockpit when Baby Yoda was trying to touch things, he would like pick him up and that, because it's real. You just go, well, that's adorable. And even though he's got the helmet on as well, he's not even emoting with it, but it's still the most adorable thing you've ever seen. It's very effective.
And a point that you touched on there is not being able to see his face. Okay, so he can't emote with his face. How is he going to do it? He's going to have to do it with his physicality. Do you think he did that?
I think he excelled, because he's got it down to like the little subtle head tilts, and stuff like that. And I never felt like I didn't know, in my interpretation, of what he was thinking.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most impressive parts of the actual series, is that it's blank faced, and he's just
there.
He's just there, and you know what he's. I don't want to say powerful performance, because all he is doing is moving his head. Yeah. There's such skill to moving your head that you've got people understanding that you sort of doubt that he doubts another character, or that he distrusts IG-11. I don't know where that sort of craft comes from.
Well, I think it comes down to that argument of, when George Lucas added Darth Vader saying no at the end of Return of the Jedi, is because Darth Vader, you could put any kind of emotion onto what he was doing. You could sort of imagine that, and then obviously then putting actual words there kind of makes it a little more restricted as to what he can be doing.
You're forced to be told what to believe. Yeah.
So I think what they did really well here is they learned from that lesson and sort of that feedback from fans about that moment with Vader. And for a lot of the time, he's very silent, and it works because you just watch him go through the actions, and you get to decide what he's feeling, or sort of how sympathetic he's feeling at any one moment. I think it's a very, very well done, very effective.
I think Pedro Pascal who plays the Mandalorian, is probably helped a lot by just the fantastic soundtrack as well.
Oh yeah,
Ludwig Göransson. Am I saying that correct?
Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah,
I think.
I'd love to play a bit of it as well.
Yeah.
But I'd like to keep these episodes going.
And that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What I do like about the soundtrack, listening to it, is, you've obviously got John Williams. When they've done the spin-off films, they've all been John Williams-esque, which is fine. They've all been very good soundtracks. But with this one, they said, all right, it's a different kind of genre, subgenre. Let's be as different as possible. Yeah. And it's just awesome. It works really well. And
Ludwig Göransson is pretty good for that as well. If you listen to his Black Panther soundtrack, fantastic.
I didn't know he did that. I hadn't heard of him before Mandalorian.
He's also Donald Glover, plays Lando Calrissian. Childish Gambino, he's his producer, so he helps create that music as well. He's a very versatile man.
So it's all about who you know in the Star Wars universe, isn't it?
Well, talking about who you know, I was surprised to see Bryce Dallas Howard direct an episode, daughter of Ron Howard, who came in to finish directing Solo. So obviously there's a bit of a... I think that episode was really good by her. I think that's her directorial debut. And I think she did a good job, judging from the episode.
Really happy with Dave Filoni's episode as well.
I was really glad to see him direct something live action.
Because he's been a part... I mean, if you don't know, Dave Filoni was a showrunner for the Clone Wars.
And Rebels, I think.
He came in to see... after 2 seasons.
Oh, did he? I thought he was there from the start. Okay.
I think he was a consultant from the start, but after the first 2 seasons of Rebels...
Probably still crying because Disney had cancelled Clone Wars,
But he's been a part of the Star Wars franchise for about 20 years now, and He's responsible for a lot of the maybe deeper
Ahsoka.
fan lore that's out there at the moment.
He's responsible for Ahsoka and all of that, those characters, which is a huge fan favorite now. Anyway, we're getting a bit off track from Mandalorian, but anyway, it was good to see Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau as well, who was also involved in Clone Wars to a certain degree, I believe, come back for this and also be such a important part of it. I mean, pretty much all of the episodes bar 2 are written by Favreau. Yeah. Which is great to see. I didn't realize he was that good a writer, to be honest. I know he's a director and he's done lots of stuff that I really like, but I didn't realize he could write that well.
Name a big Hollywood film that he's made.
Iron Man.
There you go. Iron Man.
Cowboys versus Aliens. He did that one as well.
Well, we can sort of forget about that, in my opinion.
I mean, I think he and the screenwriter for that film was sort of writing Iron Man off the fly. So he's obviously, got some talent about him.
He's definitely got comedic chops.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How did you feel about them trying to introduce a love story in The Mandalorian?
It was unnecessary.
Matthew's opinion straight away. Love is unnecessary.
Well, look, I think the most romantic character is C-3PO. So if that's any indicator, just so we're all clear. No, look, it worked once I got over the fact that they tried to put it in. Like in the end, it gelled okay. But I think it'll develop perhaps later on. Yeah,
I definitely wasn't put off by it by any means. No.
I was worried she was going to steal Baby Yoda from him. That's what I was worried about.
I was concerned that multiple characters, people that we believed were there to help him, were there to do it.
Had an ulterior motive, perhaps.
You feel like, okay, yep, this person's got an ulterior motive, and I was concerned. I'm like, I want to see the baby. Don't take the baby away from me.
And maybe that's why I struggled with that Prison Break episode, is that obviously, I mean, it's just the nature of the characters there. It's not like they're badly written, but all of them have their own ulterior motives. Yeah. And I think that's why I was stressing so much.
They've done that well, haven't they?
Yeah, it's relatively uncomfortable.
They've made us feel uncomfortable about the idea that is one of our favourite characters going to be stolen or killed at any moment? And it's not the Mandalorian.
I guess it worked. For me, that episode got distracted for me. And also, I would have liked a bigger role for Matt Lanter, who played Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars show, who has a cameo in that episode. I thought, if you're going to go to the effort of getting such a well-loved voice actor, just get him to do more. Because he was in it for like 5 seconds, and I barely recognised him. I was like, oh, he's gone now.
I thought that Prison Break episode was sort of, again, I don't want to drop back at the Clone Wars a little bit, but it felt very Clone Warsy.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's why I liked it so much. There was just like...
The whole season felt Clone Warsy?
A few of the episodes throughout, in particular The Prisoner.
Which I think is the only episode we've actually named, so we've gone back to that one quite a bit. But
I thought that was... it's probably more fan service for me than anything, but I'm super happy with that episode.
Some of the lighting was cool when the alarms went off. I like that was a bit Ridley Scottish, which I quite like, obviously.
I don't think you can fault much of the technical aspects of this at all. I mean, it's a Disney production. They are, I guess, you can't dispute that they're the biggest entertainment filmmaking. Buying everything up.
That sounded a bit cynical, so we'll rule that in case we ever talk to Disney at any point.
I do have a cynical question, because season 2 has been greenlit. It's due out in October, but are we worried about plot armor now? Can Baby Yoda or the Mandalorian be killed?
They talk about the Mandalorian's armor physically being the best armor you can get. He's literally wearing plot armor. So, I mean, yes, he can be killed. We see him get beaten up a lot in this.
Yeah, I think the other thing is not so much for the Mandalorian because if we're 4 seasons down the line, it could very easily end and he goes off and continues doing his bounty hunting. But with Baby Yoda, we might be in a bit of a Rogue One situation because we've established he's quite powerful in the Force. And obviously, he has to end up somewhere, and clearly Luke doesn't find him to try and teach him to be a Jedi. Or maybe he is. Maybe Kylo Ren kills him during his purge. I don't know, but I'm a bit worried that Baby Yoda at some point has to die.
I think that it ties better in with the themes of the actual show, which is the father-son relationship and making someone who fundamentally doesn't want to care or care, making someone like that care about something. Making someone like that appreciate life.
Actually, that theme's they have actually nailed that. I would say that's definitely the theme, and they have absolutely adhered to it, without deviating too much, which is good. And you do care for the relationship.
Absolutely,
you do care for it.
Not that it happens very often in Star Wars films, but there are a lot of moments.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Ewoks.
Sure.
He's standing right next to the Mandalorian. That's so cute. Oh, they're about to step off the ship together.
Yeah, I was holding him. Aw.
They bought him a bowl of broth at the canteen.
I think any time that the Mandalorian relented in the cockpit and allowed Baby Yoda to play with something was an absolute winner for me. That was brilliant.
Do you think the biggest critics of Star Wars is usually Star Wars fans? As a Star Wars product, were we delivered what we wanted?
I thought we were delivered something that was accessible for everyone, as opposed to a standard Star Wars movie, which is for the fans. I thought The Mandalorian was something really good entry level for anyone to get into.
It is interesting. You could almost, if someone had never seen Star Wars, it's almost the best place to start them off. Strangely, even though you haven't got the whole Skywalker thing going on, weirdly you get the whole vibe of the whole thing. They've kind of nailed that.
I think there's just, and it's so much variation within this series. Like we were talking about, playing with the genres. There's a little bit there for everyone to sort of get swept up in. If you really do like a Kurosawa film, you can watch that Siege episode. If you do like a Prison Break episode, you can watch The Prisoner. If you do like the gunslinger sort of bounty hunter sort of aspect to it, you can watch The Gunslinger.
That was interesting, that one as well, with the young guy that they had with him. It created a lot of interesting sort of, I just think, character moments for him. It's sort of like you're trying to figure out if he is fed up with this guy or if he's sort of going to try and take him under his wing. For a little bit, you sort of think, he could be a new partner kind of thing. And obviously, the episode goes where it goes. I did like that element, though. Yeah. That could have almost have been an arc for maybe a bit longer than the one episode. But like you say, they've definitely kept it very contained, quite deliberately.
There's a strong male lead character who is counterweighted by a strong female character as well. She's not necessarily a lead.
Kara,
but she does a good job of being basically as strong as the Mandalorian in terms of what they do and how the plot moves along. She's not a throwaway character.
No, she has some really good moments.
There are a lot of complementary things that really come together that sell you the drama. It sells you the comedy as well, which I think is a good way of keeping you going through it. I don't know if I came away with feeling like I had absorbed a full story. It was reasonably vague. Matt, I think you sort of touched on it before, where we felt it was a bit thin in story. It sort of there's a strong arcing story, but ultimately we didn't have many huge questions or answers given to us.
And again, I know it's a TV show, and obviously you don't want to just limit yourself to one season, but the biggest question at the moment is, who is Baby Yoda? We don't even know the character's name. We've just referred to it as Baby. It's not actually Yoda as a baby. Obviously it doesn't work. It's the timeline. I think that's why I was so excited in the first 3 episodes, is I was still getting over the fact that this is a force sensitive child of the same species as Yoda. This is quite groundbreaking. But then it didn't even hint at who or what this thing was. I wasn't expecting to find out exactly the story, but a few hints I would have imagined would have come along at some point. But they didn't. It just kept it. No, he's there, and the Mandalorian's looking after him, and maybe that's the point. But I feel like it kind of set that question up and then failed to answer it.
I think that's symptomatic of just first seasons in general. A lot of first seasons are generally pretty weak when we're talking about TV in general, and they usually use that first season to sort of hook you in for the second season.
Well, we had a few revelations in that final episode, which obviously, so they've set up a lot of things that they're going to pay off in at some point down the line. You say maybe the idea is they have introduced all these different things, and there are a few things, in case someone hasn't seen it, I won't ruin some of the other things at the very end on that last episode, but they've definitely set up some pretty cool things that do relate back to Star Wars lore from the past as well, to a certain degree. So that could be interesting to see that. I feel like that will have a much more significant role in season 2 when that comes along.
I guess now it's a good point now is to give ourselves a rating. Last week we had coconuts.
Yeah.
This week I'm going to go with starfish.
Nice. Okay.
So, a rating, Matthew?
Unfortunately, my rating comes with context, and I apologise for that. It should just be a number. But because it has so much promise, and I feel like currently, just judging it from season 1, there's some things missing from me. Despite all the good things, I'm going to give it, I think, 3.5. And only because I feel like I've been promised something that I haven't got yet, and I'm sure it's coming, but I feel like, I don't know, I just wanted a little bit more out of it for me. So I'm going to give it 3.5.
I'm struggling to sort of, should I average it out, or should I just go with a number that pops in my head? And the number that pops in my head is just a 4.5. Actually, probably just a 4, and that's just because there were some weaker episodes, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself throughout the whole thing. I think The Mandalorian is a fantastic protagonist, and Pedro Pascal is a fantastic actor. I love the post-Republic sort of almost post-Star Wars world they've set up. It feels different for Star Wars. I appreciate that. I appreciate it's not the good guys versus the bad guys, hero versus villains. There's grey area in it. I'd say, 4 to 4.5.
Okay, I'm going to take that as a 4.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to do the maths in my head too much when I give my score.
Fair enough.
For me, I'm going to sit with Matt as well and saying that's 3.5. That's just what really popped into my head when I thought about it, is that the trailer, I was really excited when the trailer came out. This is going to be fantastic. They're setting the feel and the vibe of it really well, but there is just that middle section there I feel lags a bit, but it does pay off. You know, the start and the end, they are very strong.
I was definitely glad to have stuck around, you know, for the whole thing. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I was going to watch all of it anyway, but I was sort of getting a bit over it, I think, in the middle, and by the end, it kind of delivered that kind of action that the trailer has in the end there, and so it did kind of come around, but I just wish it had got there sooner. For an 8-episode series, I wish it had got there sooner.
And I guess the best thing to do is wrap things up. It was pretty good, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, thank you guys for coming together today, whatever, I don't know what it is outside.
That's the magic of this technology, isn't it?
Yeah, it's technology. Yeah. It is
what time
lovely.
of day is it?
Oh, dearie me. Don't forget to visit us on trailerisland.com.au. Find us on Spotify, Google or Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe or like or whatever it is you do so you never miss an episode.
And we'd like some requests, wouldn't we? Any emails come through?
Absolutely. Send us an email at contact@trailerisland.com.au because the email will come through, we'll respond to it and either go yes or no. I don't know.
I imagine we'd probably say yes. It depends on what it is, I guess, doesn't it?
We would love to hear from you. So yes, do send us an email or contact us on the Facebook page as well. What's the Facebook page, Steve?
Trailer Island Podcast.
Yes, that's the one. Lovely.
Yeah.
And we've got a Twitter as well. I'm not actively looking. You're looking at after that one, aren't you?
It's at Island Trailer. We're still hunting down the man who took Trailer Island. We'll find out.
That is ongoing, that search.
It is. Okay, well, I've been your host, Alex. I've been joined by...
Matthew.
And Steve.
Lovely. Thank you, gentlemen. And we will see you next week for the next episode of the Trailer Island Podcast.
Yay.